Hi guys and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm covering the topic of coordinate geometry. It's a topic I've touched on already, but in this particular one I really want to go through the basic formulae from midpoint to perhaps even perpendicular bisector to show you how it is we really derive all these answers. So please stay tuned in this video to go through some basic questions and to see how these things are calculated. Now, in my history of teaching, I can tell you that students tend to get trouble with this topic, right? Coordinate geometry, but it's really very simple. It simply means that we want to get all the different calculations based on certain coordinates. Now, what is a coordinate? A coordinate looks like this. There are brackets on either side. There's a value here that represents the x value. There's a value here that represents the y value, and there's a comma in between. Now, a coordinate can be like this, 2, 3, minus 17, 13 and a half, etc. As such, this would be the x value, and this would be the y value, right? Now, I have a little snippet of a graph here, and I just want to pull out, say, two terms. Say this term here, this point here, right? As you can see, this is going up the line 5 for x, so this would be 5 here, and across here, it is 1, 2, 2 for y. So this, I could call this point P is 5, 2. Now, similarly, if I wanted to have another point, say here, right? This would be minus 10 for the x and minus 5 for the y. So I could call this Q. Now for these 2 points P and Q, I could do a host of calculations. One of my calculations could be the distance. Now for me to find the distance here, I could simply pull out a ruler and draw a line from P to Q and measure. But with coordinate geometry, there is a fixed calculation, and it goes like this. Distance would be equal to the square root of y2 minus y1 all squared plus x2 minus x1 all squared. So you might say, Miss, what is y2, y1, etc.? Well, it simply means these 2 points here. So if I want to go in alphabetical order, I'll call P my first value. This would be my x1 value, and this would be my y1 value. And similarly, this would be my x2 value, and this would be my y2 value, right? So if I were to follow this formula, I'll get distance of PQ will be the square root of minus 5 minus 2 all squared plus minus 10 minus 5 all squared. Now this would then would also be, this would be minus 7 all squared minus 15 all squared. This would be 49 plus 25, which would be the square root of 274, and that would end up being 16.6 units if I go to three significant figures, right? Now that is the length of this line here, if I were to draw a line like this from here to here, right? Now of course it has to be a straight line. Now what I did was I substituted this way, x1, y1, x2, y2. Now if say you mix it up and you put x1 on for the q, like you call this one x1, y1, and this one x2, y2, it will still work out and still give you the same answer, right? So now let me move on to another formula. Another very useful formula is the one of midpoint, right? So that goes like this. Brackets in the middle, sorry, brackets on either end with a comma here. x1 plus x2 all on 2, y1 plus y2 all on 2. Now the reason why we have brackets here is because if it's a midpoint, it's a coordinate. So it means that I would have an x value, a y value. So it ends up looking like this, right? Just like a coordinate, right? So similarly, the midpoint of this line here, PQ, would be like if I measure that line and divide it by 2 and I found out what coordinate was exactly smack dab in the middle here, say something around here. Now I could estimate this, but for me to get the exact values to follow this formula. So let me do it now. The midpoint here, following the formula. Right, so if again I call this x1, y1, and this one x2, y2, following the formula, will be 5 plus minus 10 on 2, 2 plus minus 5 on 2, which simply is 5 minus 10 on 2, and 2 minus 5 on 2, which is minus 5 on 2, minus 3 on 2. And well, I could leave it like this, or I could write minus 2.5 minus 1.5. So that, everyone, is my second example, right? That shows us midpoint. Now let's move on to another formula. So the next formula I want to go through is gradient. Gradient simply measures the slope of a line. A gradient could be positive, like in this case, this line PQ, the gradient would be positive, or if the line went like this, the gradient will be negative, right? The formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, if you want to change it around and put y in front, that's okay, but then you have to put x in front at the bottom as well, right? So either one. So now, if I had to find the gradient of this line PQ, would be this. Gradient would be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that would be minus 5 minus 2 over minus 10 minus 5 minus 7 over minus 15, which would be 7 over 15. So that, everyone, is the gradient of this PQ line. Right? Now let's move on to my next formula. Now the equation of a line is this. Y is equal to mx plus c. Now my m is my gradient, which would be from here, and my c is my y-intercept. So y-intercept simply means that point that cuts the y-axis. Now for me to find the equation of the line PQ, I would have to have the gradient, which I have from before, which I just found out, which is 7 over 15. And I would need to figure out the y-intercept. So I'll simply plug it into y is equal to mx plus c. My m is this, and my points could be either p or q. So say I want to use p, which is 5, 2. 5 will be my x value, and 2 will be my y value, and I will plug in these three values, m, x, and y, into this equation here. So y will be 2, m will be 7 on 15, x would be 5, plus c, and I will find my unknown c. So this would be 2 by 7 on 3 plus c. Send this over. 2 minus 7 on 3 is equal to c. Therefore, c would be minus a third. Now, that does not give us the equation of the line. That just simply gives us the value for c. Hence, the equation of the line will be y is equal to 7 on 15 x minus 1 third. So that will be the answer for the equation of the line for PQ. Okay, everyone, so that has taken me to the end of this video. I covered distance, midpoint, gradient, and equation of a line. Hopefully, I may do another one on perpendicular bisector. So please shoot me a comment if it is you need me to do it also. Right? So I hope you understand, and feel free to tune in and check out my other videos. Thanks, guys.